welcome to Early Reading. I'm Sam. Today I wanted to go over my review system. So for anyone who doesn't know, I actually have two review systems. I've been reviewing books for over 10 years now. I first started out with my own blog because of a senior project in high school, and I'm long since out of high school. So it's been a while. For anyone who follows me on Instagram, you may know I do book tours. So I've done a lot of recent book reviews, and now I'm doing BookTube, so we're doing reviews here as well. And I just kind of wanted to go over how I approach my book reviews and how sometimes you might see different kinds of ratings from me between like Goodreads and Storygraph versus Instagram and book tour reviews. I have a professional and a personal review system. Both are 5-star scales, and the main difference between the two is that one is based on my experience with a book, how it feels, the impact it might have on me, and how much I enjoy it. And the other is very much, how is this written? What is the target audience? Does it fit that target audience? And does it meet the goals that it kind of sets out to achieve? How well does it do that? Or from the perspective of, who is this book for? So that you have a better idea of how I review books and why sometimes I might share a review for a book on Instagram where I'm like, 4 stars, I absolutely love this, it's great. And another book where I might do 3 stars because it's for kids, but the reading level isn't quite where it should be. When that same book, I might give a 4 because I'm like, I really like this topic and I like how this was covered, but I'm not the target demographic. Firstly, my professional reviews. So my professional reviews are the ones that I do on my blog, that I've done on book tours. It's essentially just my tours or anything that I cover at work. These books, essentially what I do is I read them, and my system is usually a 1-star is a book I didn't finish. It was written in a way that wasn't comprehensive, that wasn't comprehensible, it didn't make any sense, and there's really no one I can recommend it to. A 2-star would be that it's serviceable, it almost gets the job done, but it doesn't quite hit the mark. A 3-star is that it's written well enough, it does what it sets out to do, but at a bare minimum. Like, this is the acceptable marker. Like, this is like, yes, you can read this. Yes, it's pretty good. It's all right. Like, good job. A 4-star is where a book is very good. It's well written. It hits all its marks. It has a target demographic that it does succeed in kind of like reaching. And it's a book where I can say, if you like this, this book is this. So if it's a self-help book, and it does a really good job of providing its sources, it lays out a very good plan to follow, I'd say, hey, if you're looking to improve this in your life, this is your book. This is a good book for that. If you like certain pacing and certain tropes in a romance, if you like enemies to lovers and he falls first with very flowery writing, this is your book. 4 stars are usually, there are key components I can pinpoint to say, this is the reader, this is its audience, this is your book. A 5-star is a book that does everything it sets out to do, and it's super well written, and it's just so engrossing that it's a must-have. Even if it's for a specific group, like, it does everything it set out to do, and it did it exceptionally well. Those are my professional approaches. It's always a question of, what is this book trying to do? Does it do the base pacing, character development, setting and plot very well? Is it very understandable? Is it very easy to read, to understand? Does it move well? It's a lot of technical evaluation. But then there are my personal reviews, and these are more about fun and my enjoyment and my tastes. So, you can usually tell which ones I'm doing based on where you're finding my reviews. If I've tagged a book tour group or I've said it's part of a book tour, or it's on my blog, then it's a professional review. Hands down, like, easy. That's what it is. If I've just read a book and I'm like, hey, I recently read this because I felt like reading sci-fi or I felt like reading a fantasy, it's more likely than not a personal review, so you can kind of fit the scale. Personal reviews are also on a scale of 1 to 5 stars. A 1-star book is a book that I likely cannot get through, or it was so bad I never want it near me again for whatever reason. I don't have that many 1 stars that I've read, but I've had a few. I can't think of them right now, but they're on my Goodreads. I try to block them out of my memory, and it seems like I've mostly succeeded. I understand there's like a whole thing about if you DNF a book, you can't review it, you can't rate it, but like, if I'm doing a personal review, I'm telling you it didn't work for me. So if it's a 1 star, again, not touching it, again, not reading it, not buying it, not recommending it. This thing is going into a black hole void in my mental space. It's gone. A 2 star is a book I really wanted to like, but something held me back. So a lot of times it's like, oh my gosh, I really love the characters, but this decision they made was completely out of character. Or I loved the plot, I loved the idea, but the pacing was awful and it felt like a slog. That's often what a 2 star for me. It's like I wanted to like it, but I couldn't. I just couldn't. And it was so close to hitting the bar, but it missed it. A 3 star, and this is kind of controversial for some people because 3 stars are often seen as not so great on certain reviewing systems like on Amazon. But 3 star for me is good. It means it hits a certain bar standard. Like, this is the standard and it's 3 stars. It has good characters, good pacing, good plot, good idea, but it doesn't go beyond the base level for me. So a book that has just basic information, if it's nonfiction, like if it only provides base information, it's like, I read this, I got the information I needed, and I got out. That's essentially a 3 star. Or a book where it's like, this was fun, I liked it, but I'm not inherently going to go running around recommending it to everyone I know. I might recommend it for some people, but it's not a go-to recommendation from me. And I'm probably not going to revisit it, but I mean, I might. It just won't be a top priority. A 4 star is a book that I really liked. Like, I really enjoyed it. It was super fun, great characters, great setting, great idea, and it just is missing a certain je ne sais quoi. So it's just, the difference for me between a 4 and a 5, it's a very thin area where a 5 is a book that I finish it and I love it and I have to own it and I want to reread it, and like as soon as I'm done with it, I want to start it. As soon as I'm done with it, I want to start it over again and just read it right then and there. So for me, the 4 and the 5 star are both like high compliments. Like, they're both like, these are good books. I'm recommending these books, and the level that I'm recommending it at varies. So a 4 star will be like, this is a good book, you should read it. It's a good time if you like these certain things. It's great. A 5 star is me screaming to the heavens that you have to read this book because it is just so good. And a lot of times, the difference between that is just something that's more personal, that it just works for me. So maybe it's a book with an aquatic setting, and like I really loved that aspect, and it immersed me, and I got excited, and it gave me maybe, certain feelings, and I have to have it. I have to have it in my hands. I have to have it in my collection. I have to buy it now. Like, I need it. Or like, I will own multiple copies of it. So Princess Bride, Jurassic Park, Pride and Prejudice are all 5 star reads for me. So I have multiple copies of all 3 of those books. I have 2 copies of Jurassic Park. I have 2 copies of Princess Bride. And I have at least 4 or 5 copies of Pride and Prejudice, honestly. It's a lot less thinking about the technical aspects and who the target demographic is than it is just me saying, I'm the reader. I get to decide how I feel about it. I get to decide if I like it. This is all about me right now. That's what a personal review is. It's I chose a book to read and I read it, and this is how I felt about it. And if you like similar books to me, you might love it. Whereas the professional reviews are very much, who is this book trying to reach? Can I help it connect to those people? If that makes sense. It's kind of the difference between, I would think of as selfish reading and community reading. For one, I'm reading a book because I wanted to, because I thought it'd be interesting, because I wanted to read it, versus this is a book that is trying to reach its group of readers, and I'm helping it find its way there to its actual destination. I'm like an in-between. Whereas a personal reading, it's just me. I don't care what anybody else thinks. This is all about how I'm spending my time and if I'm enjoying myself. Those are my reviewing systems. If you ever see the different reviews and you're like, wait, I don't know which one this is, you can hit me up and be like, hey, what kind of 5-star is this actually? Like, what kind of 4-star is this? Did you actually, like, love this? Or was this one of those things where you're like, no, if A, then B? Hopefully that helps anyone who follows my reviews or who will see reviews from me coming in the future. That's kind of my system. For the most part, I think that the reviews here, at least to start with, are going to be personal reviews. Everything so far has been a personal review. I haven't done any book tours that are video-based, so I don't know how many of those you would actually see here. But if you follow me on Bookstagram, you'll see a lot of the book tour reviews, a lot of the professional reviews popping up. Hopefully that gives you a good outline of how I, as a book reviewer, approach my reading and separate it so that I feel like I'm giving fair ratings to everything that I'm reading. I think it's a very fair system to have, considering the purpose of the review. So if I'm just reading a book to enjoy it from the library, I don't see a reason to have to give a professional review on it unless I've been specifically asked to for whatever reason. Sometimes you just want to read something for fun. And that's all that it is, and that's all that it should be. So when talking about it, that's all I'm going to be doing, is thinking about if I enjoyed it. Whereas if someone asks me, hey, can you review my book? It just came out. It's more of a, we want this book to connect to the right people. Maybe that person is you, and sometimes it's not, but the book isn't bad. Sometimes people love things that I don't like at all, and that's okay. We all have our own opinions and our own preferences based on our experiences. So I think it's really important for people to be able to have tools to find the books that will mean most to them. That's why I review the way I do. If there's a book I didn't like, I will point out what it did well or what I didn't like about it specifically, because I know there's a lot of people who read 1-star reviews to see if it's a book they would like, and that often helps. If I don't like a second chance romance, somebody who loves second chance romances will have a much better time than I will. So it's like, hey, I wasn't a fan of this. You can enjoy it. You know, some people don't like insta-love, but sometimes I really like the characters that are involved in the insta-love, and it sells me on the point. And I'm like, well, you know what? I came in with reservations, but I ended up loving it. But if you don't love insta-love, like at all ever, under any conditions, this isn't going to be your book. And that's okay. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions about my personal reviewing systems, feel free to leave a comment and ask questions down below. Also, if you want to leave any book recommendations, I do take note of those. You can also leave those down in the comments, and I will see you real soon.